Today we're going to take a look at gels from Science in Sport.
I won't make it easy for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams.
6.70 miles, 8 minutes, 57 seconds per mile today. Had about an hour on the treadmill today. That's as long as the treadmill would let me go. Still not quite feeling 100%, so didn't go outside. Originally, the plan was to go out for a long run today, at least 10 miles, but since I'm still not feeling quite 100%, I thought I'd log those miles on the treadmill. Unfortunately, the treadmill topped out at an hour. People have been telling me that there's ways to adjust that in kind of like the settings or like the boot mode of the treadmill, but I live in a building with lots of other people. I don't want to mess around with that kind of thing, so I just kind of left it. And an hour was a good enough time for me to get a feel for the Science in Sport gels. Now, the Science in Sport gels are something that if you are following running content on Instagram, I'm sure you're familiar with it. I first became familiar with this brand late last summer, shortly after Martin hit the market, which everyone rushed out and bought after the Berlin Marathon last year, myself included. And that's because Martin gels are isotonic and also endorsed by Eliud Kipchoge, so everyone was suddenly paying attention to isotonic gels. Science in Sport touts itself as the first brand to release an isotonic gel. That just means that the concentration of whatever chemicals and molecules are in the solution match the concentration that's in your body, which leads to quicker absorption into your bloodstream. So that's the idea. So this, very much like Martin gels, is a very big packet. It's huge. These are the Cliff Shots that I normally tend to enjoy and get most frequently, and here they are side by side. The Cliff Shots are 1.2 ounces of gel, and the Science in Sport are 2 ounces, so almost twice as big. And this needs to be a little bit bigger because of that isotonicity, so that way it absorbs quicker. And it's also supposed to be a lot easier on your stomach. That's another feature of the Martin gels that they touted too, is that a lot of people, I don't have this problem, but a lot of people do have problems eating these. They're just too thick. They're hard on people's stomach, especially when you're running and you've got an empty stomach already. Then all of a sudden you put this really dense, calorie dense material into your belly, and it kind of upsets people's stomachs. This is supposed to avoid all of that. And so I went for a run today, an hour on the treadmill. After about half an hour, I tried to eat one of these while on the run. So that's one of the things that I look for as I'm testing out a new gel, is one, how good is it at giving me nutrients and energy to continue the run? How hard is it to carry, and how hard is it to eat? Those are the kind of the three things that I'm looking for. I'm also looking at price as well. Martin gels are really great. They are extremely expensive, almost $4 and change per packet. The Science in Sport gels are a little bit more reasonable. These are about $2.17 per packet, at least in the size that I bought. I bought a 6-pack on Amazon for $13, so a little bit more than $2 per packet. And so the cost becomes important, because if you think about how many of these you're going to bring along for, let's say, a marathon, usually I like to pack around 4 or 5 gels with me. If I'm doing that in all Martin gels, that's $20 worth of Martin gels in my pocket, and that means 4 or 5 packets that are this size in my pockets. And I know with the Martin gels, that many of those gels in your running shorts is going to be a huge problem. And I think for me, in the Chicago Marathon, I brought 3 Martin gels and 2 of the Cliff Shots, or maybe 3 Martin gels, 1 Cliff Shots, and I plan to pick up another gel along the course. And so I mixed it up a little bit just so that way I'd have different flavors that I'd be eating, but also so that way the weight wouldn't be so much, because the Martin gels definitely were distracting in terms of the size of the packet, and I imagine that this is definitely going to be a problem in terms of the size. Now, I know that they also target a lot of cyclists and triathletes, at least from the marketing and on the Science in Sport website. So maybe in those sports, the size of this really isn't a problem. But for runners, I think that this is really just too big to ask people to carry multiple of these around, unless, of course, you're ultra running and you got a pack and you can stash these things all over the place. That might be different. But for me, running a road marathon, I'm not sure that this size quite works for me. In terms of the flavor, being able to eat it, this packet was not too bad to get open. I was able to rip it apart and eat the gel right away. And I was a little bit surprised about the consistency. Holding the packet, you think that it's still going to be very gel-like. I was expecting something very similar to the Martin gel, which to me was kind of like an unflavored jelly, like the kind that it comes out of a squeeze bottle. That's kind of what Martin gel is like, and I was expecting similar here with the Science in Sport. That's not what I got. What I got was something a lot more liquidy and less viscous, less thick, so very different than what you would expect if you're used to eating gels or goos. Those are more like toothpaste or like a fancy nut butter is kind of the best way that I would describe the consistency of those. This was more like eating like a melted Italian ice. So it was nicely sweet. I had the citrus flavor, a little bit of caffeine in it, and it tasted pretty good. And it went down really easy, and it was really easy to eat. In terms of it getting into my system, I felt like it did a good job of getting into my system relatively quickly. I don't really notice the benefits of the isotonicity or anything like that. So whether that's marketing mumbo jumbo or just something that my body's not sensitive enough to discern, which is the latter is probably more likely, I didn't really notice. But in either event, it did its main core job of being able to keep me energized for the second half of my run today. The one thing that I will note is that after I had taken the gel and it continued running, and after a couple of minutes, I found myself burping, and it was with this citrus flavor, the burps kind of were like I just drank a Sprite. And so that was kind of it didn't taste limey on the way down, but the burps definitely reminded me of Sprite, for whatever reason. The thing that this gel reminds me of the most, actually, are the Gatorade endurance gels. And so the consistency and like the lightness of the flavor definitely reminded me of Gatorade endurance gels. Those are probably my least favorite of the gels, because I don't think that they are giving you enough energy. I just feel like it's a little bit of sugar water in a packet. This kind of reminded me of that in terms of the consistency, although the performance of the product I would rank probably higher, a lot higher than the Gatorade endurance product. But in terms of thickness and viscosity, that's probably the one that it would remind me of the most. Will I buy more of these? I'm not sure. I don't think that I enjoyed it quite enough to make me completely switch from my favorite brand, which are these. I like these because they're easy for me to get on Amazon. They're easy for me to carry because of the size, and they're really cheap. They're about less than $1 per packet, and so it's hard for me to kind of switch from all of those things. I'll probably continue to mix it up between Martin gels and Cliff Shots. Cliff Shots I'll use for the bulk of my training, and then the Martin gels I'll mix in for higher intensity days and race days, which is how I used the Martin gels last summer. So that's probably where I'm standing, but I thought I'd give these a try, especially because I know that there are a lot of you out there who have some stomach issues or flavor issues with some of the Cliff Shots and don't like those. I thought I'd give these a try, let you guys know what I thought. If you've tried them before, let me know what you think in the comments as well. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. Before I go for today, I want to talk about today's charity runner for the day. Today's charity runner for the day is Jeremy Tai. He's going to be running the Run Melbourne Half Marathon, and he's going to be running it for the Peter MacCallum Cancer Foundation. It's a charity that's very near and dear to his heart, and to prepare for the half marathon, not only is he going to be raising $1,500, he's also going to be running 1,000 kilometers before this race coming up in July. So a double goal there for him. I've donated 15 Australian dollars to his cause, which is about 10 US dollars, maybe a little bit more than that. And I'll post a link in the description. It's such an important cause to him because that cancer foundation, that charity, was able to provide services and benefit his own late mother as she battled cancer as well. So something very special to him. So if you could take a look at the links below, I'm sure he would appreciate it greatly. I would appreciate it as well. If you are a charity runner, or if you know a charity runner, please feel free to send that information my way. Send me those fundraising links. I'd love to give you $10 and spotlight you at the end of one of these videos to show everyone else what you're doing to raise money for charity in your community where you live. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?